everybody. I know I'm digressing. This is a different video in its entirety to the ones that I've recently just put online. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I think it's really important for people to be aware of how cheaply and inadequately, if that's the right word to use, that products are now being made and manufactured, especially those that are made in China. Yes, I keep going on about China. We are the United Kingdom, for crying out loud. Here I am on my soapbox. And we used to be renowned for actually making and manufacturing a lot of goods within the UK. We used to be the British Empire, for crying out loud. So why are we now dependent on China to import cheap crap? This is a bookshelf. I believe it's pine. I'm not a wood expert. I got it from the Myton Hospice in Nuneaton. Now, the Myton Hospice is still one of the charity shops that on the day I made this video in 2024 was still open. You may or may not know of the Myton Hospice, but it is actually a genuine charity. Now, the reason I buy a lot of my products from them is obviously to support the Myton Hospice and what they do and what they stand for. Please don't ask me to go into that now. It's not going to happen. And they deliver. So I brought this bookshelf. I'm just going to quickly show it you. And it wasn't that expensive. It was secondhand. I probably paid about £10-20 for it, and then delivery on top. Originally, retail-wise, this bookshelf probably would have cost me within the hundreds. And I put it up. I put it in the house. The reason why everything is slanted in my house isn't because I'm filming drunk. It's because it's a house that's over 100 years old. It's probably been subjected to subsidence. It's a rental. I put in the flooring myself. Yes, I know there's cables there, but they will not be there in a couple of minutes. It's only because I've had to move stuff to get to the bookshelf. And the reason why I obviously brought this bookshelf is because I have a lot of books. You can see I could literally open my own library. Originally, it was something I was hoping to do with the narrowboat I lived on, was to have been like a mobile library and go to all these villages and places where libraries are now closing. I was looking at using the narrowboat, not just as, it was going to be called like the health boat. I wanted it to be a local library that travelled around the canal network. I was hoping to have like the opportunity for people to do ancestry research, people who were homeschooling their children, etc. But unfortunately, Canal and River Trust are complete idiots, and I'm not even going to go into the politics of what it's like living on a narrowboat within today's society as opposed to 100 years ago. So anyway, back to this bookshelf. I brought this bookshelf because obviously I have loads of books. I homeschool my little boy, and I had them deliver it. I rearranged my whole house to put it by the fireplace. And the other day, I kept hearing this noise, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And basically, in a nutshell, it was the bookshelves collapsing in on themselves. Now, you're probably saying, oh, well, you know, don't put so many books on the bookshelf. Well, it's a bookshelf. That's what it's supposed to do, hold books. And obviously, you put the heavier stuff at the bottom, and you put the lighter books on the top. Now, I'm not going to start weighing my books. I'm not that I'm not that obsessed with things. But if, say, for example, I mean, you know, this is your book. It's quite a light book. This is actually a collection of books. I was not a fan of these. Nor were my children, which is why they decided to rip some of them up and ended up having to throw them in the bin. So now I can't sell this as a complete set. But if anyone likes this author, just message me and I'll probably donate them to you. So yeah, as you can see, the books aren't that big. they're not that heavy. It's not like I've got 100 encyclopedias on the bookshelf, or that I'm harbouring War and Peace or Finnegan's Wake, or, you know, the Kama Sutra. I don't actually know how big that book is, but anyway. And what has actually happened is these little plastic things here were in here, and they've snapped off. So not only can I no longer shove anything in these holes, because they've broken, my books now are back in bags and boxes. Now, one of the things I was actually penalised for and have been criticised about in the past by people is, why is your whole life in a box? And it always reminds me of two things. It reminds me of The Last Holiday movie, where she says, when I die, you know, scatter my ashes. Don't bury me in the ground in a box. I've spent too long in a box in my life. And it also reminds me of Frida Kahlo, the famous Mexican artist. And with Frida, her life was full of pain. And she expressed this pain through her artwork. She is an amazing artist. I love the movie Frida, which has got Salma Hayek in. It's got Edward Norton in there. They're the only two actors I can think of the top of my head. And when Frida died, again, she didn't want to be buried. She wanted to be cremated. So what actually happened is, when they were burning her body, there was an explosion at her funeral. And the explosion, obviously, because when you die, it's quite morbid. There's a lot of gas in the body that builds up. I actually read this online, so I don't know how true it is, but what actually happened when Frida was being burned, not alive, she was dead by then, what was left of her, she'd had a lot of things amputated as a child. She was in a trolley accident. She was very lucky to be alive, actually. And what actually happened was, when the explosion took place, it blew the casket open that she was in, and her body, according to witnesses, actually sat up in the coffin. And it was like her last sort of farewell to people. One of the things she was also famous for was she had to have her leg amputated, one of her legs, I can't remember which one. And she got told, when she finally had this major recognition for her artwork, that she wasn't allowed to leave her bed. And one of the things they do in the movie Frida is what actually Frida did in real life, is she got people to come to her house and carry her to her party in her bed. And the doctor says to her, Frida, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be out of bed. And she's like, Doctor, I've not left my bed. I'm in my bed. So she actually went to her own opening of her arts debut in her bed. Apparently they hid her leg from her. She ended up having like a wooden leg, so she couldn't leave her bed. And she was like, come on, I thought this was a party. And that is what Helma Sayek says in the film, Frida. It's supposed to be a party. Where's the music? Where's the drinks? So for somebody that obviously suffered so much in her life and was very lucky to live, she expressed her life through her artwork, and it's made her like timeless. But anyway, getting back to this bookshelf, she's so frustrating. I've now got to throw these in the bin. They're plastic, so again, I'm adding to landfill. And what I'm probably going to have to do is drill out these holes, and then try and put something else in them instead. So I'm not happy. So in a way, I'm relieved that I did not spend like over 100 quid on this bookshelf. Everybody's attitude who knows me has been like, hey, it's almost bonfire night. I'm not Catholic. But anyway, that's digression. Burn it. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to burn it. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that's wrong with it is that when it was made and manufactured, they put cheap, rubbish prongs in the holes. That the moment you put books on the bookshelf, it collapses. So enough of that. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say with this video is when you do buy a bookshelf or any furniture in the future, make sure you see what quality it is and what it's made of, because I would hate for you to get it home, painstakingly put everything on the bookshelf, and it fall down. At least if everything had stayed in boxes, like it usually has in my life, I've spent my entire life literally in a box, one box or another. When I lived on the boat, it was more like a Faraday cage. It's easier because I haven't got to worry and have the stress of things falling off the walls or falling off shelves. It's in a box. But I got criticised for having my life in a box. The other thing I recently said to a friend of mine was, hey, the good thing about everything of mine being in a box is that when I do die, all you got to do then is make a decision. You know, look in the box, keep it, chuck it, recycle it, donate it, or sell it. And at least the box itself, if you know, retail wise, I use the Real Useful Box Company. Not that I'm promoting them, but they are one of the best to purchase from. Again, I bet they're manufactured in China. They aren't cheap. And when my little boy decided he wanted to go climbing in his room, after I had painstakingly decorated it and put everything in there, he stacked all of the really useful boxes, bless him, to climb on top of them so that he could look out the window. He broke 5 boxes within 5 minutes. He wasn't injured. I was very thankful for that. But each one of those boxes retail-wise cost me 20 quid. So that was like £100 that had to go in the bin within a day of purchasing these boxes. Which is why, again, I just want to add, you know, my son has got autism. We are waiting for an assessment for ADHD. So when people say or make comments about people with disabled children, or they're unaware as to how disabilities can affect people, to have some consideration. I mean, I've had some really hurtful things said about my little one, and I don't really want to go into that now. But one of them was that I made his bedroom look like it was a prison cell. But hey, we're in the 21st century. How many apartments in today's society look like prison cells? You know, if you live in Monte Cassino, people pay a lot of money to live in a box. So the reason his room has to be so sparse, unfortunately, is for his own safety, which then means I have to buy bookshelves to put his books on, which he does read. He loves reading. But again, due to care and due diligence, I can't be using a bookshelf that is going to fall apart the moment I put the books on it. So please, 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 if you take anything away from this video, is check how any furniture that you purchase is made and manufactured. If it has got plastic bits to hold the bookshelf together, do not buy it.